Thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting to order and review and approve the minutes of our meeting of April the 21st. What is your pleasure?
I move that be accepted as presented.
Motion's been made
I'll second it.
and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay, yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Seeing we have no residents and citizens as far as participation goes, we will skip that and we'll go on to business and resident interest. Staff reports. We've all received these and we've had a chance. I think these are nice now. That gives us a pretty good detail of what is happening.
Oh. All about them. I'll be back.
The smoke-free policy seems to be doing well.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, we give it,
The smoke-free
Oh, the
policy.
smoke-free policy, that's a good point, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could comment just as an observer. There hasn't been any vocal complaints from anybody about it, nobody mentioned a motive. One woman put a sign up in front of her door, no sniffing. And an interesting thing is happening, there seems to be a lot more activity, social activity in the pagoda there. And I think that's a good thing.
That's what Heidi said, Hayes Court, people are meeting each other for the first time
Yeah.
out at the pavilion.
Property managers review the written reports as you've seen for discussion. Change in the ACOP, read the marijuana policy.
Mary, the rent report came a couple days late. Mary's getting it for you now. After our lively conversation last month on the medical marijuana policy, I think I indicated to you that we've taken it back. Our policy writer extraordinaire is now back in the real world with the legislature ending, and she will be working with Heidi and George on a redraft of that policy. So,
Jan, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. And she was very actively involved in the legislation, so I think she's going to bring some expertise to the issue.
Okay.
And here's the rent collection.
Thank you.
So on the medical marijuana policy, we may have it for June. We may not. It may take a little bit to really craft something that's workable and fits. So, but we are going to be working on it.
Okay.
So that's, if it's not here in June, it will be in July, I hope.
On the rent rolls that you've received right now, they're pretty self-explanatory. If anybody has any questions or any comments that they would like to make, please speak up.
I'd like a clarification on Hayes Court. It said 2 under eviction, and then the other star says settled with payment agreements on 5/14. Do those two things relate to each other?
Also, these are really,
This is the Hayes Court. She's got a question.
yeah, I think the settled with payment agreements relates to Moore Court.
I see.
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
other is at Hayes Court, there are a couple of problem accounts there.
That's why I didn't know whether they
Yeah,
related to each other.
yeah,
or not.
it's, 10S gives too many lines in that report.
Can we award something to the tenants at Melrose?
Yeah.
For paying the rent.
Yeah, I mean, that's unreal. Nobody scores that high.
It's 99.98.
Yeah.
Really good. That's really good.
Almost be willing to throw the $5 in out of my pocket.
Okay.
It's their way of saying they want to stay.
Yeah.
We don't need to do anything other
No.
than just of interest here. Okay. The program manager on the FSSPH and the HCV, Resident Service Coordinator, SASH Coordinator, written reports that you saw in your packet. Does anybody have any comments or any thoughts that they would like to address on that?
If I could speak just briefly.
Sure.
I enjoy reading these. I mean, we get a lot of factual data that we look at and everything.
Yeah.
And reading these narrative reports,
Yes.
I get I think, a very good feel for what the program's doing and
Yes.
the difference it's making, and I enjoy them every month.
Yeah.
Good background, and I think they're
Yeah.
very handy.
That's great, and we have David with us, and he is the supervisor of the folks, so it's nice to hear.
Well, Marshall, I want to echo that statement because I think the authors and coordinators of these reports would say exactly what is written verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
That's their persona, just on paper.
I was thinking that when I read Lucy's, because I don't know Claudia that well, but it sounded just like Lucy.
Yeah.
Can you, excuse me, can you tell me what the two people it was that sounded like? You said Lucy, you said,
Precise.
Oh,
Yeah.
She missed that.
I had said precisely.
yes,
Oh,
thank you.
precisely.
oh, the two people are, Lucy Tell is the coordinator for family self-sufficiency in public housing neighborhoods. And Claudia McCarthy is the family self-sufficiency coordinator for folks that are participating in our Section 8 program.
Thank you.
And
I had a question, but it had to do with SASH. So
Okay.
perhaps we are not there yet.
Yeah, was it this?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
right here, this is-
Sash is in here?
Close enough.
And it had to do with their ability to intervene if someone is behaving in a dangerous way in the community versus having family members intervene.
Well, they're not trained medical people or psychiatric people. So SASH is really a resource connection program. So if somebody is having an episode of some kind, the SASH coordinator would probably or usually interacts with that person and then seeks to find the service providers that are already assisting that person and to alert them that there's an individual in their care that really needs their attention, and to sort of get, press the button so that person gets some attention that they need. And that's what they do.
That's helpful.
The HCV Administrator, Housing Choice Voucher Program, Shelter Plus Care, and Transition into Housing.
That is David,
Yep.
who is with you tonight.
Mhm.
So you can ask him all those questions that
You're
you've
on,
been
David.
waiting to ask him for years about all of them.
So I'll gladly await any questions you might have in regards to my overview of the past month. But we have a little bit of work ahead of us, so that's why
Well,
I'm present this evening.
we we have a couple comments right here, adopt change in the HCV administrator's plan, to add a residency preference. And also to review and approve notice of opening of the HCV wait list. Correct.
Yes.
Now,
So Chris is handing you out our improvements to the policy. I can share with you that when the wait list was opened, it was identified at the closing of the wait list that we had an incorrect policy. So that has fostered us into making corrections and improvements in our admissions policy to Section 8 in as such that the only preference that the Brattleboro Housing Authority offers in the Section 8 program is a residency preference, which we have always done. But the incorrect policy is that we need to correct by admitting non-residents as well, and we have not. So the current administrative plan that you see before you has the steps involved identifying the residency preference in that process, as well as the process of adding non-resident applicants to the Section 8 wait list as well. Preference will be given to those in the Brattleboro Housing Authority's jurisdiction: Vernon, Guilford, Dummerston, Halifax, Marlborough, Brookline, Newfane,
Putney.
and of course Putney. We can't forget Putney.
So the underlined text is what's being added.
That is correct.
So when it was open between April and May,
Yes.
we only took applications from people in Brattleboro, is that?
No.
No?
Those
Okay.
others.
Let me tell you what
Yeah,
happened
I'm
historically.
confused.
Yes, yeah. And partly this stems from the way the federal code is written. The federal code speaks of residency requirement or preference. And they easily get swapped around, and in our case, we did that. So we, instead of calling it a residency preference and following that line, we said, oh, it's a residency requirement, which means if you do not live in this area, then you cannot apply. A preference says you can apply if you live outside of this area, but you do not get the preference.
Okay,
Only those in this area get preference.
okay.
And that's what happened in the rewriting and the continuance of the policy. When we found it, we realized that we had to go back and change the policy, which is what this language, and that's all that this language does, is correct that, and we underlined the changes in that chapter.
who would receive this piece that you got here?
That's just our policy. If somebody came in and asked for our
Oh, that's
Section 8 policy, they'd get all
available.
300 pages.
Did we have people who were turned away?
Yes, we did.
We did, okay.
Marshall, the response to that is that should you adopt the corrections and improvements to the admissions policy, I have 5 letters in wait to those that were initially denied, noting that the policy had changed, and we will add them to the wait list as a non-resident effective the date and time of their original application. But again, as a non-resident.
Does this mean there's actually 2 separate wait lists?
No, there will still be one, but it will be noted on the wait list if one is a resident or a non-resident, because only those who are residents will have the preference. So those that are non-residents will need to wait until we get through all the residents before
Okay,
they
so
are
they
chosen.
just go to the very end of the line.
They'll
No. The way it works is this. All right, everybody submits their application, and that gets put in date and time, okay? So that's everybody, regardless of where they live. And then, if you live in the preference area, you get a check
Mhm.
next to your name, and that means you go above all the people that don't have a check.
Okay.
But they stay in, everybody stays according to date and time, but the people with a preference go ahead.
Okay. It's kind of what I thought it was, but I just didn't.
Yeah, you don't, well, it's very important that everything, HUD just keeps, and it gets very confusing because they're just absolutely just adamant that people's date and time on your wait list cannot change. And you must take that by date and time, and then you assign the preference.
So if two people applied at the same date and the same time, the one who lives locally would be given the preference.
Yes.
Right.
I move we adopt the policy change, Chapter 4, applications, waiting list, tenant selection.
I second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yes.
So as a result of this and needing to correct the previous opening of the wait list, which was very clear in explaining a residency requirement, we now are going to have to be opening the waiting list again. So with the one change in the date, this is when we will be opening, this is the public notice that will be going out. It's very similar to the last one, except that this time it talks about preference, not a requirement.
I move that we open the Section 8 wait list effective June 2nd, 2014.
June
And
9.
June 9.
June, okay,
This
it says,
one.
oh, I'm sorry.
There's
okay.
been a correction.
I didn't look at that. Effective June 9th, 2014 at 8 a.m. and closing, and it will be closing on 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 3rd, 2014.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5-0.
Marshall, were you the seconder?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Great.
Thank you, David.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank your staff, too.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Property redevelopment manager has some written reports. And that everybody's had a chance to take a look at. Red Clover Commons, an update on the project status.
Yes. Red Clover, we are having an owners meeting this week to prepare for applications for our state permits. We need to meet with the town fire department for before we go back to the Development Review Board for the local permit. We received our tax credits. We have a hearing for our Vermont Housing Conservation Fund request, which is quite large, in June. Mary and Jack will be representing us because I can't. So we're working on the permits and funding. That continues to go forward. I am told that we are to have a draft of the Special Applications Center approval. We're not sure what that's going to look like tomorrow, but we'll see. We were supposed to have it last week, so we'll see. And the really exciting news is that with Jeanette back, we really are getting on with the community planning for the reuse or the future of Melrose. And she and I had a good meeting today. We're going to try to have our first meeting towards the end of June with the second and last meeting in July. So that's moving along.
One question about attrition, when people are leaving for whatever reason, I think you said in the past it is to our benefit that we fill that apartment.
Absolutely.
Now, that leaves us with more people living there than we will have room to accommodate. What do we do with that?
There are actually at least 3 options for the 25 people that remain after the first 55 go to Red Clover. One is that it may be that we have already identified and started to work on a phase 2 development, which could be new construction.
Then there's no problem.
Or redevelopment. We might go the route of obtaining tenant protection vouchers and seeing if we can, over the course of a year or 2, relocate those people within the community in housing.
Which would include our own properties if
Yes, it would.
vacancies came.
Yes, our properties, the Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust would be a really good partner in that, and the other area landlords. There'll be some number of people that might want to relocate out of the area completely. Really no telling about that. And maybe that's the 2. And the third, I think, is just that they would, folks would stay here until such time as we had the next phase open and ready to go. So
Okay.
Would you
that's-
move residents into the most flood protected buildings?
Yes, we will. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We have one building that has been highly flood-proofed, and that building will absolutely be used. And then what we'll do is, of course, the second floor here is very flood-resistant. And then I'm actually going to pull out the charts that we have from when we had the flood, both floods, and look at what were the safest buildings, and then we'll put people. I'd like to get people congregated as much as possible. We don't want people spread all over the place, and I think that there's a pretty logical nexus of housing for folks here. So we have told people that we will move them after, during the Red Clover.
And how many people will we still have here?
25.
25. That's good to know.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Is there any other information here that you want to share with everybody as far as update on the project status?
No,
As
that's
far as
really it.
approvals and
That's
community planning?
as far as that's where we are. We're moving forward.
Okay. Very good. Work sessions, old, new, and other business. Financial reports.
I've got a little new business if I could bring it up. Kind of a minor thing, but group of neighborhood people. They've already actually kind of formed an organization called FEET. Frost, Elliott, Elm Triangle. And we met last month. George was there. And the idea is, what can we do to improve the neighborhood vis-a-vis things like beautification? And George contributed that he would like to do some sprucing up in front of Elliott. My idea was that we put up some trees in half barrels. Trees or other vegetation in half barrels and spread them out, leave them on the street, maybe 4, maybe 6, maybe 12. And I was just wondering if we could depend on the housing authority to provide soil, if we could get the barrels. By the way, if you don't know what I mean by these barrels, there's two of them in the front of the Elliott. It's like an old-fashioned barrel cut in half and you use it as a planter. It's sort of like the things outside, except they're plastic. These are wood. And maybe plastic, I don't know. And I'm just wondering if we could get the soil and a couple of people to fill the barrels if we get the barrels.
Yeah, I think we can probably do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're meeting again Wednesday, I just figured. If that is desired, I'll mention that that's a possibility.
I think that we,
Give us the budget.
yes, I think we have a place where we can take some funds, or use some funds, if the board is amenable.
Yeah. Are they like the old whiskey barrels?
Yeah.
Whiskey, yeah, I think.
A half a whiskey barrel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cut them in half.
They're not exactly that anymore. Somebody duplicates them, you
Okay, I was
know.
gonna ask
They're
you about
made.
emptying them.
They're made. Yeah, no, they're not going to need help emptying them. No, they're just made for the purpose. And like I said, there is two of them right inside the lobby in St. Elliott.
Right.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
no, I think we can find a little bit
Somehow or another, we'll
of
scratch it up.
funds for that.
Do that, or go out behind Hayes and dig some up.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along here on the monthly check listings. The payable list that you saw here, I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. I think it's on this green sheet. It's just for your own edification, so. Check signing, May, Chris, June, Janet, until the 27th.
Till
Yep.
27th.
Then Marshall to July and August. August would be Tom. And then September is blank.
Chris, Janet, Marshall, Tom. Who's missing?
Who could that be? I had one in, when was it? Was it?
Well, it must have been about 4 or 5 months ago.
I think it was 2013.
There's my hand. I will be happy to do it.
Oh, Bill.
For this is what now, September?
September.
All right, okay. I will do it.
One thing before we leave, I did want to, I'm sorry I didn't mention under Jack's report, he failed to put in there that we had our audit of our hazard mitigation work that was done here at Melrose, and they cleared the audit, and then the V-Trans people that are the people that handle all the money also cleared us. They said we've done very, very good work, and our records were really excellent. So
Good.
kudos to Jack for jumping in and figuring all that out. Yeah.
Does anybody have any other business to come before the meeting?
Do we need an executive session?
Yes, I just very briefly.
I would, if that's okay, I would move that we enter executive session to discuss pending litigation.
No, second.
Motion's been made and second to go into executive session. Any discussion or any, no? Hearing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.